tell you what the next 15 minutes will look like. Now, when Don was doing his jokes, I was thinking, yes, that's the guy I want to follow. Right?
Yeah, so
Yes. And then all of a sudden, they inducted Helen Ann, and that was much more serious, and so anyway, I didn't quite get my way. But here's what will take place. We're going to show you a video on the Canadian horse. And that's the most important part of the session today. If you listen to that, that's going to be the message. After that, I'm going to talk about horses, and I'm going to talk about horses in Brockville and the community here. And then the next part is we're building a statue, full-size statue of a Canadian horse, paying tribute to what horses did to put us where we are today. And I'll just stop there just for a second. You know, we had somebody say, I got a new truck. Well, in the 1800s, that person would have said, I got a horse. And over here, somebody said, I'm going snowmobiling. In the 1800s, that would have been the horse. The horse was all those things, the truck, the car, everything. And so the relationship between us, and over centuries and centuries and centuries. And yet there's other animals. Listen, dogs are great, cats are great. We watched one on the screen of a lady holding a dog and having a relationship with that dog. But in our lives, over centuries and centuries, there's been very few animals that we've been closer with than a horse. And so that's where I'll finish off today. But then, right, Doreen has said if it gets a little dull at the end when I'm talking about the project, she's going to dance and sing for you to take the end of it off. So thank you, Doreen, for doing that. So the video, like I say, if there's one part, and I was a teacher for just under 30 years, and I know you will drift in and out, but pay attention to the video. After that, where you go, it doesn't really matter. So this is the most important part. Can you play?
Hey Google, play the video.
We invite you to meet the Canadian horse, the national horse of Canada, the oldest genetically distinct breed in North America, and Canada's best-kept secret. The Canadian horse is also known as the Little Iron Horse. Strong, brave, loyal, graceful, and noble in its movement, the Canadian horse is the pride of Canada. The ancestors of the Canadian horse made their first appearance in the New World of New France in 1665, a gift to the emerging French colonies from King Louis XIV. Despite the challenges that faced that New World, the Canadian horse flourished, able to survive where oxen and cattle couldn't. The Canadian horse was the settlers' best asset, able to help as much-needed transportation, bring in harvests, and work in mills. The Canadian horse shone with his versatility, just as it does today. The popularity of the Canadian horse rose, and news of its hardiness and soundness spread. People began coming from far and wide to purchase the hardy Little Iron Horse. Its influence can be seen today in all North American breeds. American breeders capture many of the Canadian strong qualities by mixing them to improve their breeds. They also act as the foundation horse for many of them. Aspects of the original horses can still be found today, with solid bone, hardy feet, courageous heart, and amiable temperament. The Canadian horse can stand anywhere between 14 and 16 hands high. However, it must comply with breed standards. A short head with a straight profile, short ears and a firmly muscled neck, a back and loins that are broad, short and strong, a round croup, and strong legs. The hooves are big, strong, and as wide as they are long. The common colors are black, bay, and chestnut, black being the most common. They're frequently used in equine tourism venues as well as the mounted police forces. The Mounted Police Force of Montreal has used the Canadian horse since 1995 and currently has 10 of them employed in their services. Police forces across Canada are now capitalizing on the level-headed nature of the breed. They can be seen in many police forces beyond Montreal, including Calgary and even Washington, D.C. The modern Canadian is a force to be reckoned with and can be found in every sport imaginable. Their intelligent nature and work ethic make them fierce competitors. The Canadian can be found in every discipline, from combined driving, derby, ski joring, dressage, hunter, jumper, eventing, and track, to the western disciplines of extreme cowboy challenge, ranch work, and are also happy and at home relaxing on the trail. If you can think of it, your Canadian can do it. Their power, athleticism, calm nature, and intelligence have made them increase in popularity as sport horses. We invite you to learn more about the breed, a breed from the past, for the future, and discover what the Canadian horse can do with you. Meet the Canadian horse. Fall in love with Canada's best kept secret, the Little Iron Horse, and your new best friend.
Any questions?
That's good.
Lots of people don't know that we have a national horse, right? That's our national horse. And I'll just back up a little bit. When they started, what happened was Louis XIV had beautiful stables in France, so he sent horses and people to New France, which is all this area, like Quebec, and we went way down to the Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, down into the States. So he sent those horses to keep people happy and promote agriculture. So those breeds, Andalusian, Barb, different types of horses that he would have had, the best stables, they came into that Quebec area, and then they, over 150 years, didn't have much influence. So this hardy little horse developed. And so that's what we have today. Now, what I want to do just for the next couple of minutes is I just want you to back up just a bit and just sort of imagine that we're in the 1860s, just before Confederation. And it doesn't matter whether your grandparents and great-grandparents were here at that time or somewhere else in the world, the same sort of thing was happening with horses. The Australians have the whalers. You know, if you go to the United States, they have the Mustang and the quarter horses. Different countries have different types of horses, and they come together with their people and help develop those countries, just like they did in Canada. So if we go to 1860, here we are in Brockville. Today, on a typical winter's day, if you were to walk down Main Street, there would have been all sorts of horses tied along the walks. The doctor would have had a horse to get to people. The minister would have had a horse. The mills would all be having horses. In Brockville in the 1850s, the railways going through. All those railways, the tunnels, somebody had to pull those rocks in, and there were horses that people used. In the 1860s, the Civil War is on in the United States. These horses that you see here are unbelievably adapted for war. About 30,000, right? I don't like ever quoting too much numbers, went south. The military paid big bucks to get these horses, simply because in here you can see the statue. Their feet are very, very great hooves. They don't get a lot of mud on their feet. They don't. The little iron horse. They don't take a lot of food. Cavalry horses. They were in big demand to go to the United States, and so a lot of them left. A lot of the good horses left then. And here we are in the Legion, here in Brockville. And so we look up and we see people who have given their lives or spent their lives in service to Canada. About 6 million horses died in World War I, worldwide. It was huge. And they went from this, no, that's worldwide. Many horses would have gone from this area. Farmers, local people, they would have said, listen, it's World War I. We've got to do our thing. So off their children would go at a very, very young age, and then there'd be people going around the country saying, listen, can I have that team horse? And they didn't want the poor team. They wanted the best team the person would have. And they'd come in here to Brockville, they go and put them on the railway car, they go to Montreal, and they lift them on boats, and they never come back. The sacrifice was huge. And of course, like I say, a few of the horses might have come back, but very, very few. When they finished, they either would have ate them or they would have just perished anyway. So that's our link to this building here. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the horse that you see here in this diagram is this is a picture of this statue, the full-size statue that they're going to build. So Helen was the first horse they took a picture of, and this is created by Dave Sheridan and Diane Sheridan. They came to Upper Canada Village, and another fellow and I hooked a horse up, Helen, on a big log. We didn't have the stump because this is David's design, and we pulled the log and to the point where you can see the power. And Dave's idea is in the statue that he wants this horse to show you, or the people that will ever see it, that this is a no give up attitude. And you heard it when they wrote about, talked about what I worked with horses for 15 years. Never in those 15 summers that I worked at Upper Canada Village did they ever have a Canadian horse not try. You know, and as a teacher, that's all you ask a student to do. Just try. Just give us effort. Just try. And these horses, they want to try. The other horse that this is about is Rocky. And this is Rocky here, a picture of him. I had Darlene put this picture in. And Rocky is the type of horse, it's his head that we're using here. And he had a very distinct mark right here. If you want to see it, it's right on his front leg. It was a birthmark. So people would come to the village and see him year after year, and they'd say, you know, is Rocky still around? So Helen is still around, but Rocky did pass away. He got cancer, just like we do, horses, and he died. But here's what I want to tell you about Rocky. When you were handling Rocky, say all of a sudden you're eating lunch, and somebody comes in and says, oh, you know, so-and-so needs wood, or somebody needs straw, or they need water taken over to this area. They say, you go out and you get Rocky, and Rocky's eating. And as he's eating the hay, and they do this with dogs, right? You've seen that where a dog's eating and they'll go put a false hand down and try to push him away from the food, and if the dog grabs it, they may not give him adoption, but if he doesn't mind him being pushed away. Rocky did not care if he was eating lunch. If he thought he was going to go out and run, he just would. If you were going to work with anybody, you would love to work with a Rocky horse. He wanted to go out, he was exciting, and when he got in that buggy and that cart that you see right there, he wanted to go. And of course our bosses is saying, whoa, you can't let these horses trot too much. But Rocky wanted to run. He wanted to go. He was full of energy and full of life. So we wanted to reflect that in the statue. And just one other thing, he had, and if you don't, and I'm not trying to, he had a pace. So you might, if you're a jogger or a walker or whatever, but when you start to run a little bit, or when you start to walk at a certain pace, you'll hit a rhythm, right? And you'll get in that rhythm, and runners know this. You get in that rhythm and you can just go for a long time. And Rocky had that. If he was trotting along in a buggy, he had the most unbelievable, and I'll try to do it for you, but it's kind of embarrassing, but it was that. And he'd just go along the road like that. Clicking along. It's the most rhythmic and powerful sound that you would get from a horse. Just the shoes, and that's all there is. Just the quiet. There's no engine running. There's no anything else. It's just that beautiful sound of a horse trotting along on the road. And we don't get it today too much, but I'm sure in the 1800s it was a wonderful sound of just going down the road, hearing the horse. So I won't bother you anymore because Darlene Burns does this presentation for us, and I'm going to get into the other part now. But one of the things that she reminds me is to stay on my script, and I'm going to do that today. Because when you have a passion for something, you know, I all know what it's like, right? So can we hit the slide here? Sure. And I'll do this very quickly, and please, if you have any questions or you have a family story, I'm more than happy to answer the question.
Okay. So next slide, Jackie.
Yeah, I know, it's just
It's okay, Jackie. Yeah,
a problem here getting out of,
yeah, it's fine.
How many of them are left in Canada?
you're gonna have to,
Oh, well, Ray, I'll tell you, I learned this over the years, is tell my boys this, my grandchildren this, when you're talking, no names, no numbers. You're talking a story, don't include anybody's name in it when you're talking and leave the numbers out. But I will tell you, there's probably around 4,000 registered Canadians. Now, unlike, go ahead, you can start your slide whenever. Unlike, like today, if you have a dog, people say, what kind of dog do you have? You know, I have a golden retriever, or whatever, they put a label on it. In the 1800s, you used to have a horse, right? You could have, it would be all sorts of different types of horse. It wasn't that. So while we're waiting, I'll just talk back to, so just imagine is you're getting up in the morning, say you might be coming here, and people did this, like on winter times, they drove their horses, because you didn't have the television and all the other entertainment. So the relationship that you would imagine you'd have with that horse, that you're spending every day of your life, plus it's so critical that you get those fields plowed in the spring or the doctor. Go ahead, whenever you bring it up.
yeah, your file crashed, so I'm trying to recover it.
No problem. So you can just imagine that every day, so you imagine with your dog right beside you, petting it, right? The relationship that you would have with that animal would be absolutely unbelievable. So don't worry about it. I'll just keep going here because I got my notes, and I'll make this short. So what we're doing is we started and we had a launch to do this horse in September, and we've launched it off. But I just want to show you here is that we talked about, that's a stamp. We had a Canadian stamp for the Canadian horse, the little iron horse. We also had medallions were made up. 2002, it became our national horse. The people that are making this statue happen, of course, are a volunteer group along with the St. Lawrence Parks Commission and the artists and sculptors, our local artist, Dave Sheridan. And he's starting to work on it right now in his over on Butterfield Place. I told you about the design. This, as you can see it, this is David's design and creation, and again, you're going to see the power that the horse is supplying. The launch, we hope to have this in the fall of 2024, full-size statue installed.
When you say full-size
Yeah.
statue, yeah, how big is this going to be?
Well, it's 15 hands or 15 plus hands, and a hand is 4 inches, right? So it won't be 6 feet. This part will be 6 feet, but that part won't be. Right from the bottom of the hook up to the shoulder here. So it will stand like this high.
Oh, so it's over my height. Okay.
Yeah.
You won't be able to ride it during.
Where's it gonna go?
Right outside Upper Canada Village, because they have 25 registered Canadian horses, and the other reason for that is about 250,000 visitors a year will walk past it. So that was one of the big, yes.
Long term, what would be the connection with Brockville?
That's a really good question, and I don't like saying that very much, but the history of Brockville, sort of what made us today, right? And it's hard to tell people this, is the horse played a huge role in it. I'll tell you, in the 1800s, if you were to drive down the road, right, you'd say, that's Rene. And it's not because you can see Rene, it's because you can see his horse. You know the kind of horse that he drives. You ride a white horse, a black team, a bay horse, the way the horse is running. Your status in the 1800s was by the horse and the buggy that you drove. So the connection to Brockville is that as historians and as people, is to just tell that the life we have today is related to the horses. They played a big role in how we were able to develop what we were today. So Should have been in Brockville, maybe. Should have been in maybe Athens, we're a rural area, maybe. Sort of the reason for it there is just the exposure. There's this full-size statue of Big Ben in Perth. It's a beautiful thing. Ian Miller up on it, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's in a park, so very few people see it. You drive through Perth and you never see it. They wanted because it's Canada's national horse, they wanted a high location. Yeah. Any other questions? This is the, when people donate money, people can donate money, anybody can donate money. But if you want your name on a plaque, there's a set of plaques that are going to say here, anything, if you give $1,000, your name goes on a plaque. So that's how it's being paid for. And it's visible. It's going to be a statue, unless somebody comes out and says there's something wrong with the Canadian horse. The statue will last forever and ever, hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're not looking at something that will say, we're going to make a table and we're going to throw it out in 3 years. This statue is going to last for generations and generations and generations. So this is where it's going to go. That's where it's going to look, just right at the entranceway as you go in. Perfect. Yeah. And I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Go ahead.
How much have you raised so far?
$150,000.
Okay.
So you're halfway there.
Oh, at least. And I right now, because I don't know if you guys you're into fundraising. What happens is people will give in kind, like the base, and different parts. Some people say, "No, my company not necessarily can do that, but we can put the base in for you." So the overall price has dropped down considerably. So we'll be in. We're at 150 now. We'll be in probably closer to the 200,000. We'll do it all with in kinds. Go ahead.
Don, I was just thinking while you were speaking and telling us about this, that central in our recent in history development of human society has been the horse.
Yes.
And everything really is using energy in one form or another. And our use of energy is measured in horsepower.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody must know here. Horsepower is 550 foot-pounds per second. Is there any?
Not sure about that, but
It's 746 watts.
You might know.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
it's,
I think
it's,
it's
an,
fine. I
it's
think
an energy measure, it's a torque measure.
It's a
Yes.
power
Yes.
measure.
But
Yes.
it's always horsepower.
Yeah.
It's a power measurement.
So if we had a pulley here and had a 500, I'm sure you guys must have taken this in physics, 550 pounds, and you're going to lift it up. One horsepower motor would do that. A horse would do that. If you had them on a pulley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to take any more of your time. You guys are all busy. Yeah, go ahead.
What's one of these horses sell for nowadays out there? I imagine there's a range, but...
Yeah, there is a huge range. Remember I said I don't like numbers or yeah.
That's why I said a range.
The horse is worth what people will pay for it.
So what will people pay for a horse nowadays?
Well, here's the other thing is how well they're trained.
Yes.
Like a dressage horse, that's really, you're talking thousands of dollars.
How about one that can pull?
One that can pull, I don't know,
You wanna work?
5,000, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to interject. So 3 years ago, Burberry Farms purchased a team of Canadians, thanks to Don and the dedicated group of his draft horse club who came and kind of supported us, Don and Bob Fisher and Darlene Burns. And those horses, we have managed to bring them along over the years, just driving them once a week, which really isn't a lot of training. And they are such lovely animals, and they're beautiful to look at. They are lovely tempered animals, and they pull our sleigh in the winter and our buggy in the summer. And we go out and drive them once a week, and they are everything that Don has said. And as Canadians, we should be proud that this horse breed was developed in Canada, you know, kind of developed in the harsh winters of Quebec, where the horse had to be everything that Don has said, or I guess they probably just perished. And they are very hardy. They are strong and sturdy, and yet they're not giant horses like a Clydesdale. You know, they're a smaller horse, but they're very strong, they're very sturdy, they're very beautiful. And they're also, I can't remember if they're a rare breed right now or a threatened breed, but their numbers are not high enough to be a viable, truly viable population, which is a sad thing. Like the mounted police used to ride them, and then they switched over to a German warm blood horse called a Hanoverian, which I think was a mistake. I think they should have stayed riding the Canadians. And, you know, a lot of breeding programs that were pretty big in Quebec have been shut down over the past 40 years, so they are an endangered species, basically, as a breed, not a species, but I think that this is a great tribute, and it's being spearheaded by people in Rockville. So, you know, Dave Sheridan is a well-known local artist, and Don and Darlene, all these people work very hard in this local Leeds County Draft Horse Club to promote driving horses. And so it's a great initiative.
Thank you.
So where will the statue be cast?
It's being, you make a plastic one first, right?
Yeah.
Like a wax, and so it's gonna end up over on Butterfield here.
Oh, behind
in
Dave's garage?
Yeah, before I go, Ray, Doreen, and everybody, listen, you're a wonderful group. Thank you for being so, attentive, and it's just a pleasure, and keep up the good work. It's just a joy to be here today. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dave, you want to come thank
Well, I was just
Don?
segue, speaking of pleasure, it's a pleasure to see you again, Don.
Absolutely.
Darlene and Dave shared to give me quite updates on the project and that.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
Don was actually a very great educator in his time in that. Before he retired, that's how I remembered you initially.
Yes.
Next thing you know, you're down at Upper Canada Village at Pumpkin Infernal, Upper Canada, you know,
Yes.
the Festival of Lights and so on
That's
and
right.
that, eh? So when you actually mentioned about horses, and this is kind of a bit of serendipity, we lost a family member, Jack Paul, and we went back to the farm days. And this is the two big horses.
Beautiful.
And one of the stories was every Christmas, we go up to the farm. I was just a little kid, well, not much bigger than I am now, much smaller. And Uncle Harold would have a big sleigh, and there'd be bales of hay on the sleigh, and he'd have stones heated up from the fireplace and put it in metal buckets, so that, and then we had a big bear skin, and we went all around Burnbrae Farms out towards the Lynn and that with the horses.
Yes.
I remember Uncle Harold say, "Gee, ha!"
Yeah.
which was the left and right. I don't know my left from my right anyways, but it was amazing, and it was just one of those memories with horses so big that we look forward to each and every year. Well, the size of that horse, eh? So we wish you success.
Thank you
and,
so much.
hopefully you're going to raise the rest of the money.
Oh, yeah.
Selling those calendars. You want a calendar, $20, goes to the club and that, eh?
Yeah, it goes good.
Okay. Anyways, what we do to thank you is we provide you with a book which we take back, put your name in the inside cover, and it goes to a library. This one being the,
This one will
School.
be going to Maynard.
oh, here it is, right, Maynard Public
Yes.
School. Put your
Perfect.
name on it and that, eh?
Thank you so
And
much.
thanks again for coming out. This
It was an absolute
upholstery
pleasure.
day and that.
Wonderful.
Really
group
good.
of
That, eh?
people.
Yeah. Here's our photographer, Andrew. Lorraine takes 6.
Well, I do, because you people always close your eyes.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Good to see you. Here's the luck.
All right, thank you. I'm sure Don, if people have questions at the end of the meeting, I'm sure Don's welcome, so we'd be happy to stick around and. So, Nick, have you got our